Hey everybody, it's the Nitty Professor. I've got a lot of wonderful new subscribers on here, and I thought this would be a good moment to sort of introduce myself a little bit, and I've got a few show and tell things to include. So I have been a German professor for a long time, 35 years I think, and have been teaching for the past 20 years in South Dakota, where I have raised my children for the better part of their lives, not to say nothing of my pets. I got a couple samples in here. And I thought I would tell you, those of you who are new to the channel may or may not know how I got started knitting. Now, I've been a crafter my whole life. My mother was big on sewing. She did a lot of other crafting, to be honest. You know, she died over 20 years ago. And my memory is more vague than it should be about some of the things that she did when we were little. But she definitely sewed for us. And she did crewel work and embroidery. And to be honest, I'm not sure she was as much of a knitter as she was a crocheter. But she crafted. My grandmother on my father's side was huge in sewing. And I remember growing up with a Singer sewing machine around. That was pretty cool. And what's interesting is that probably at the time, I'm a musician, so I was always just obsessed with music, and I was a big, huge tomboy. I was always out trying to like play football and hockey and all this stuff. My brother, on the other hand, he was like tatting. He sewed his own full, complete suit when he was 13. So he was quite the tailor. In fact, he did that for his profession. And he knit Barbie sweaters and this kind of thing, doll clothes he made. He sewed wedding gowns. He was incredible. He worked for Saks Fifth Avenue, as a matter of fact, in the women's couturier. So crafting is just this big, huge deal in my family. I'm sure it's big in your families too. I still have embroidered tablecloths from, I'm not even sure who they're from. Are they from my mom? They're from my grandma? I'm not even sure. But we have them. And as far as my crafting goes, so to the extent that I was involved with crafting and not just out there playing the trumpet, I was obsessed with needlepoint, and I was always obsessed with wool in particular. So I have here a little sample of a needlepoint I made. It's probably about 15 years ago or so. I did a lot of needlepointing, and there's a little needlepointing in my novel. So my novels are like kind of the background reason why I'm here. I just decided I was going to celebrate all these really cool crafts in fiction, as well as diversity and equity and inclusion, right? And all the stuff that's like taboo today. They're all just like, that's just like the whole point of my novels, is fiber on the one hand and diversity, equity, inclusion on the other hand. So as far as knitting, so knitting is my current obsession besides writing. And what's interesting is that my younger son got me into it. So my younger son, he also got me into boots. So just to throw that in, right, you know I'm a huge boot lover. You've seen my channel. You know I've got a bunch of boot videos on there. He got me into those. Of course, I like those when I was younger, too, because they really fit in with my tomboy vibe. But my son took a fashion course as, I think he was a freshman in high school. And I'm not sure. Well, he was really interested in fashion news, and it kind of upset him. I remember he did a project on this, that men's fashion is always sort of like backgrounded versus women's fashion. You go to a big department store, where's the men's section? So it's the 6th floor, you know, and to find like runway designers, that kind of thing for men's fashion was kind of a Paris, you know, a struggle. And he liked like really cool shoes. And I remember when he went to prom, he picked these just really flamboyant suits and stuff to go to prom with. So he did a cool project in that class, which was about men's fashion and why it should be prioritized more in this kind of. We had a lot of cool discussions, because I always argued that men's clothes are higher quality than women's, generally speaking, and that irritated me as someone who likes high quality garments. Like, why is that? You know, so I suppose they do have fast fashion for men, but it seems like it's less of a thing than it is for women. So we found that really interesting. So we have a lot of interesting discussions. He buys like Filson and Red Wing and Shot. You know, he's really into just high quality. He's getting into selvage denim, raw denim and stuff like that too. There's a really cool store in Atlanta he goes to. It's called Guilty Party, if any of you are familiar with that. It's a really nice store. So in any case, he took this class. He was like one of 3 guys in there. I think he was the only straight guy in that class. It was really cute. And bless his heart, he did a program in women's and gender studies at Emory. I'm really proud of him. He's just really like broad-minded. It's just fantastic. I was learning stuff from him about gender studies and race and all kinds of issues that he was learning from these awesome professors at Emory. So took this class, and one of the things they had to do in the class was knit something. So we went out and shopped together for yarn and needles, and I was like, okay, I'm going to learn this along with you. This is like really cool that you're doing this, because I have really not knit hardly at all in my life. So he knit this, and there's kind of a fun story behind it. Some of you who've been following me for a while, you know the story, because he was head over heels in love with this girl who was a little manipulative. She was cute, but he was just really smitten. And I think she was not like to the same degree. Like, she was two-timing him. She was doing some stuff that was kind of, it's like, darn. So he gave this to her. It was like the only thing he ever like knit in his life. And I was like, oh no, son, you can't give that scarf to her. And after they broke up, he kind of ended up sort of breaking and entering and taking it back. And now, so we have it again. So I'm like really pleased that he did that, because, I love it. It's, something that a teenage boy knit with acrylic yarn, but my son made it. And so I love it. It's kind of fun to wear. And so my first knitting project was this scarf. And I remember we went up to Winnipeg and we stayed in the Fort Garry Hotel, which is haunted. And it was like really fun to chase down the ghosts and stuff. I swear that we did have a ghost in the hotel. In fact, there are ghosts in my novel. There are a couple of really prominent ghosts in there. Oh, it's so much fun to write about ghosts. They're so meaningful, So we went to the Fort Garry Hotel and we stayed there. It was not very expensive, so we could stay like basically in the penthouse. And I decided, well, they've got yarn stores in Winnipeg, so I'm going to learn to knit. And I went to YouTube, and I went to this really cool yarn store. Apologize, I forgot which one it was, because it was like, I don't know, 8 or 9 years ago. It's been a while now. Maybe not quite that long, but a while. So, got recommendations for needles, for a pattern, how to start. Went to YouTube, found this really nice British lady talking about how to do a ribbed scarf. And so when I started out, let me see if I can find it. I definitely was not the greatest. There are definitely some errors in here. Some places where like there's a hole. I don't know, I must have dropped a stitch in there. But the long and the short of it is that even though this scarf has, signs that I was learning at the time and trying to figure out gauge and consistency and all that good stuff, it's still a cool scarf. It's beautiful yarn. It's a gorgeous wool from, I think, South America, maybe Peru, Bolivia. And yeah, that was my first knitting project. And the rest is history, as they say. I've been an avid knitter ever since. In fact, this is a more recent project. This is called the Stjanka. It's an Icelandic word, so it's S-T-J-A-N-K. And I've done a couple of videos. If you want me to do the video again, I'd be happy to. I did one in German, did one in English. I can always do it again. Then I was like, well, I love wool, I love knitting. I took up spinning. And so I have a few skeins of yarn that I've spun. I most enjoy doing a 3-ply. And this happens to be 2-ply because it's a very woolen type of fiber. I'm going to combine these into a sweater project. When the Tour de Fleece comes around, I'm going to focus on getting more of this spun up, I think. But yeah, I really enjoy spinning. Haven't had much time for it in the past month, but I'm definitely going to do a lot more videos about spinning over the summer because I've gotten pretty decent at it, and it's rewarding. And again, lots of knitting in my novels, lots of spinning in my novels. Crocheting is huge, even though I'm not personally a crocheter. I've learned a lot about crochet and the way that it lends itself to making art. And art, I have a degree in art history, so I really wanted to, celebrate community, and especially community building around marginalized people and resistance and that kind of thing. So I have this sort of big artistic fiber community that is celebrated and sort of forms the centerpiece of my fictional town. And crochet is the primary medium that they use. There's also felting and spinning and weaving and all kinds of stuff. And I'm going to continue to celebrate all these other crafts in my novels, just to give you a little bit more idea of who I am. Obviously, I've been at this for a while, so as a German scholar and translator, here's something I translated about 25 years ago. This book is by Leopold von Sacher-Masoch. I really enjoyed translating this book. Sorry about the glare. Because I learned a lot about Jewish culture that I didn't know. I'm Unitarian myself, but I did go to a temple for a while. In fact, my son went to a Jewish preschool, and that was a great learning experience. So yeah, this was published. It's still available, you know, if you're interested in something like that. Tales from Jewish Life. Very revelatory. It's from the 19th century. Yep, Tales from 19th century Europe. Here's something else that I did. This is probably my, let's call it my scholarly magnum opus. It's called Globalizing the Peasant. See if I can get that glare off of there. And Access to Land and the Possibility of Self-Realization. So in this book, I kind of honed a lot of my thinking about access to land, privileging the earth as the foundation of life, space versus place. And actually, it was really exciting because I got to investigate. Paris, what are you doing? Paris wants to talk to you about her. To investigate narratives from countries all across the world, basically coinciding with the spread of enclosures and the spread of commodification and industrialization. So I'm just going to give you just a quick rundown of turning pages here. The countries that the books came from that I analyzed. They're mainly novels, but some of them are short stories. So there's a narrative from Switzerland, Germany, Russia, France, Moravia, more or less Austria, one from Denmark, Japan, Romania, Canada, Brazil. The one from Canada is Wild Geese by Martha Ostenso. If you know that book, it's just fantastic. Brazil, China, India, the U.S. I investigated a novel called People of the Valley by Frank Waters. If you're not familiar with that, I highly, highly recommend that. Frank Waters is just an incredible American author that people know less about than they should. I have a narrative from Italy, Turkey, Senegal, Bangladesh, and in some cases more than one from these countries. Like I included a narrative in here from Latif Tekin called Tales from the Garbage Hills, written in 1984 in Turkey. So in any case, just, you know, a little bit background on my other projects before really digging into writing novels. Here's another translation I did, Orphalina. I'm really proud of this one. So I got very immersed in Moritz Zsigmond, or Zsigmond Moritz. He's a Hungarian author. I've translated 3 of his novels. They're available on Amazon. And this one, I'll just read you the blurb I wrote. Arvachka, Orphalina, is arguably the most gut-wrenching yet simultaneously the most lyrical novel penned by one of Hungary's greatest novelists, inspired by the experiences of Erzsébet Littke, an orphaned girl whom Moritz first met in 1934 in Budapest. Orphalina recounts the movingly tragic fate of a young girl battered by callous neglect and greed in rural interwar Hungary. So anyhow, that's one of my Hungarian translations. And as far as fiction goes, I've been writing fiction for a long time. I have a big, huge novel that I wrote in the 90s that was so long that I was like, how am I going to publish this? I still haven't figured it out. One of these days I'll figure it out. But here's a German novel that I wrote. Let's see if I can fix that glare. It's called Schön Kästnerisch Verfahren. So if you happen to read German, people who've read this have told me they really like it. That's actually my daughter in the front cover. But it's sort of a takeoff on Das Doppelte Lottchen, which the history of that's kind of interesting because it was written by Erich Kästner. So that's why this title basically means proceeding in the manner of Kästner. He was a children's author from Germany, and his story is a children's novel about 2 twins who were separated and found each other's camp. Was discovered by Walt Disney, who also discovered, wait for it, the actress, oh my goodness, John Mills, and of course the rest is history, right? So they made the film Parent Trap in the early 60s, and then it was remade with Lindsay Lohan. But in any case, this is like a 21st century version of that, and yeah, it turned out pretty well. I actually wrote 3 volumes, and the second 2 haven't yet been published, so something more to dive into. I just haven't had the time to work on my fiction because, you know, I wanted promotion and tenure. And I got that, and that was good. So, in any case, as far as the novels I'm reading now, I'm working on my getting the word out, and they're in the process of being edited right now. I've joined, this is my logo, isn't it cute? It's really cute. A local graphic designer made that for me, and I just love it. I'll link my website on here. So I have 7 novels, and again, they all celebrate inclusion, fiber, knitting, spinning, weaving, a lot of history. The 4th novel is a frame story that surrounds the building of spinning wheels with hand-powered tools. It was so much fun to research that. I'm so excited. And some stuff about boots, some stuff about ghosts, some stuff about the challenges of queer children trying to come out to their parents. That's a big one. I remember when my daughter came out to me, it was actually pretty low-key because my brother was gay. I'm more or less queer, so it wasn't such a big deal. But for some children, even if they think their parents might understand, it's such a huge deal. So that gets thematized in my novel. And a lot of mother-daughter relationships. More mother-daughter than mother-son. Not sure why. I have 2 sons and a daughter, but I don't know. I guess maybe I feel like, as tomboyish as I am, I have male characters for sure, but it's just a hair easier for me to write from the female perspective. I'm a single mother, so what do I know about fathers, right? I had a father, and he was very busy at work, and he was great and everything, but it's easier for me to write about motherhood because guess what? I experienced it. So a lot of that stuff's in there. There's even some stuff about gardening, needlepoint, home renovation, a mansion. Yeah, it's great fun. So I'm going to get at least one of the novels out this summer for you guys. I'm trying to decide which one is in the best shape. They're sort of sequential, but not necessarily, so we could do a prequel thing, but I'm trying to figure that out. So I've still got some novels out with beta readers, and I'm getting feedback, and I'm in a wonderful critique group where they're helping me with just some of the mechanics, of making sure that everything's really polished for you guys, because I want you to enjoy what you read. So in any case, if you have any questions, feel free to let me know. I'm going to link my website. And if there's anything you want me to cover, if you want me to go back and review some of the sweaters and things that I've made, feel free to request that. I'm huge in color work. I just love colors, you can tell. I've dabbled in some other things. I've got a lot of books on things I want to try. I'd like to do more with cables. I haven't done intarsia yet. And those are also techniques I'd love to learn so I can include them in my novels. I've got 7 now. I've got 2 more planned, and I've got others that are sort of like in the back of my mind. So I feel like I'm going to be writing these for a good while. And, if you want to throw some topics at me, feel free. It's just so much fun. I feel like this whole ride is about getting to know people. Just, celebrating human beings. We're so complex, and we're screwed up in a lot of ways, but we're also incredible in other ways. And it's just this wonderful mix. Being an author is like the richest thing. I really enjoy it. So I hope that, when the books come out, that you really enjoy them. And in the meantime, we're just going to have a lot of fun with knitting mainly, but also spinning and boots. And I have all my German content that I like to do. But I also like to get serious from time to time. And, we can't ignore the real world. I think our relationship with the earth is kind of screwed up. And that's something I try to address in the background. My novels definitely have a lot of idealistic sort of stuff in them because I want them to ultimately be happy and to make you feel good. But the path there can be a little rocky, right? So it's like survival, recovery, reconciliation, a lot of stuff like that. So I feel like it's a really satisfying kind of content, but it's also not boring. Not boring at all. So yeah, give me some ideas. Love your reactions. I'm really happy you're here. I love doing this, and just, whatever you want to inspire me with, other podcasters, ideas, books, topics. I think I'm going to go into some women's art and the sort of the trajectory of craft versus art and the arts and crafts movement, some stuff like that I throw out, and politics today, just kind of on the sidelines. I don't want to get sad, right? But I also don't want to put my head in the sand. So thanks again for being there, and I'll be back at you soon. Hopefully I'll have a sweater I'll be finishing up soon, and some other great ideas. Hope you all have a wonderful rest of your weekend. We'll talk soon. Bye.